What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today we want to take a look at the best level 30 artifacts in AFK Journey. Most of those artifacts have received quite an interesting buff at level 30. You can see, for example, all of the earlier level ups here for the Lightcall Spell don't really give too much of an effect, just a minor boost to the healing. And then we get to level 30 and we see this monstrous effect. So I want to show you guys the coolest ones of this. We're going to go quickly over some of the less interesting ones and going to focus more on some of the top artifacts at that point, I would say. Starting off with my favorite one, and that is the Shieldnova Spell. Shieldnova is a spell that, well, whenever your teammates or your allies take damage to the shields that they have, it basically charges up a Nova, a massive explosion that deals 80% of team attack as fist damage. And we made a full review about this in depth and everything. You can check this out if you want to have some more details. But essentially, you want to stack shields, and if you stack shields and take damage to those shields, you do a ton of damage. Gets upgraded to 130% of team attack. And now the new one at level 30 is that the spell damage is increased by 35% each time it is cast. So you get up to 105% increased team attack. At like a skill that already does a full AoE, full map Nova of 130% of team attack fist damage. That gets upgraded by 105% to an absolutely massive damage. And in fact, I think this is the artifact now that deals the most damage. And I want to show you guys this. So here we have a fight against Swampy Tough. I'm using a shield team. We use Hugin. We use the Diamond Shield combo. Diamond has a ability that transfers shields. We use that here. We didn't use Skalita. Skalita on my account is a little bit low. We use Callan because Callan at the start of battle can also give himself a huge shield. Also protects the allies. Great combination. And we take a ton of damage, of course. Now I want you to keep an eye out on this little bar under the artifact here. That is basically our meter. Once this is full, we do a Shield Nova. And when this Shield Nova hits, take a look at the HP of those heroes over here, especially Siren. You can easily see Shield Nova comes in, bam! It was nearly half of the HP. We just nuked one of them there. Bonnie going to get wrecked in a second. And take a look now. Now we are, I think, already at max. There is no indicator, but you can see that takes away nearly the full HP from a Siren. And we casted this like 4 or 5 times, 5 times now, I think. 6th time coming in and absolutely nuking the Ludovic. So I don't know. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be meta, because shields are kind of weak nowadays, that we have so many true damage heroes that can bypass them. But the damage this artifact does, I think this is very, very impressive. I experimented there a little bit. You could see it took a little while until we got the attempt on Swampy Tough that worked with the right team. It is really a problem. Many heroes do true damage, can bypass it. That's why I don't think it's like the top artifact, but it's a cool one, because if it works out, if you maybe put it in a Supreme Arena team where you can control who you attack and don't fight too many true damage heroes, I think it can be really, really interesting. So maybe check this out. Shieldnova Spell, definitely for me one of the top ones. Let's then go over a row of artifacts that became relevant in the recent days. Starting off with Dragonroar. I don't even want to focus too much on the effect that we have here. It is an attack speed reduction, of course. That helps. That is very, very nice. Half of the time during a fight, basically the enemy's attack speed is reduced by 35 points, which is really, really good. And this one is a recommendation because it was basically used for DR currently. A lot of the DR bosses currently are fought with this artifact because it also provides a massive attack bonus. Overall, we have an attack bonus here, we have a haste bonus there, we have a massive attack bonus within the effect. So that works out fairly well, making this one of the best artifacts to fight in Dream Realm with. It's not really too impressive. I don't even want to go into a fight too much because for PvP, well, not really too much to see. Again, same for Dream Realm. So we are just going to say, okay, this one goes into the row of artifacts where I say, if you are limited on resources, then go ahead, go into Yapala, check out the section on Dream Realm, and take a look at which artifact is used today for the Dream Realm boss. Do this every single day, and you should be able to kind of upgrade your artifacts in a perfect order for you to absolutely maximize your loot. So this is like a perfect example for that, Dragonroar Spell. Also probably the #1 artifact you want to upgrade for this purpose. Then we have one that is better to check out, Coreforge Spell. Already hyped it a little bit when we first took a look. Makes your heroes unaffected, so a little bit like the base season Enlightening Spell that also gives you, which says it gives you control immunity. It makes your heroes unaffected, also makes the last hero unaffected, gives them haste, gives them damage reduction, and was often used with like Dyna, was often used with like Cryanaya. And in the end we can see if the Sigil remains active for 20 seconds, converts 35% of the affected allies' damage dealt to true damage, which I thought would have been more present in Dream Realm. Hasn't been too much, I have to say. Still a very cool effect, and overall of course a great artifact. And of course, still the perfect artifact to go with the Pandora combo. We do Pandora Dunlinger here, fighting Swampy Tough again. I didn't try this now, so we might get absolutely demolished. I sure hope we don't. But might happen, so let's see if we can do some proper damage. It's even on ×2 speed, I just noticed. But yeah, big damage coming in, and we are nuking. I don't think he has a new artifact equipped, so it's kinda unfair, I guess. But yeah, whatever. Let's not just nuke him and it's fun. So again, Coreforge for the backmost hero makes them immune to control effects. So a lot easier to do stuff like this, because you certainly don't want to be CC'd by, in this case, Confining Spell. So he has a very viable CC actually here. And this makes it. So the thing is, I like the level 30 artifacts. It's certainly very, very shiny on this one. Because it says like true damage, and this is of course what I would want on my Cryanaya, but the thing is, yeah, you need the Sigil to be active for 20 seconds, and this is like a PvE thing mostly, I would say, because 20-second PvP fights are scarce unless you are talking about something like, well, Athalia teams, but there's too much movement in Athalia teams to make this work, because you need stationary heroes, and then it becomes kind of tough to really use. There are rarely the situations. Maybe you can implement a strategy with like a Siren in PvE, where you can convert his damage to true damage. That is something that I can see. Other than that, sadly, level 30 effect not too cool on this one. Just overall, yeah, a little bit weaker. So, and then let's go into Bloodrage Spell. Bloodrage Spell also very, very nice. Huge attack speed boost, huge life drain boost. For the hero at the start of the battlefront, most allied hero, is pretty nice, gets a very interesting effect at the end. After the friends at ally gains 2 assists or defeats, they regain their sense, increase their attack by 50%. So absolutely huge attack buff. Sadly, I think not many options for us to use that in PvE. I think the only boss where you can really use this against would be the Slime, but other than that, it's tough to get assists or defeat during a boss fight. That is the special thing, by the way, of the Slime boss. You can get assists and defeat during that fight. But other than that, yeah, it's an absolutely monstrous effect. Absolutely monstrous effect. You need to get 2 assists or defeats, which kind of makes it less interesting for PvP, I would say, because it's a win more artifact. And win more artifacts aren't really too great in my opinion, because once you start winning, once you got those 2 assists or defeats and your heroes are really already in the situation where they have those boosts, I don't think it is too interesting anymore to have that. So I would put it in like the same tier at Coreforge, kind of working, but kind of less interesting, because, well, the effect seems so cool, it's so hard to trigger in the end. So it's like one level below with the top tier, I would say. Then we come to an absolute top tier artifact, the Guardian Spell. Guardian Spell got a little bit more, well, popularity now during the Pioneer phase, I think. It wasn't really used too much, and then on Pioneer suddenly I saw everybody using it. It's like the number one artifact somehow. What it does is, it really reduces the incoming damage your heroes take until they do their first ult. And we can try this one more time with the same team that I fought Swampy Tough with before. So this was our team, and if you want to go and use the Guardian Spell, right, the thing that people obviously use it for is the kind of build an Athalia cheese team. This is like the number one thing that you want to do. Because, well, you get 2 extra revives, you survive 2 fatal blows at the start of the fight. Because that is our new effect. When non-summoned ally takes a fatal blow, blocks that damage, instantly grants them permanent shield. So this gives you some more time to survive. And of course, if you run Dunlinger, you have a few heroes that will never really ult, or at least not during the time that Dunlinger's order is active. So that means that those allies will permanently take less damage during the fight. So this is also rather interesting. Let's watch the fight with it. You will see that our allies are very, very tanky. And, well, not really the Hugin, but the rest of them, until they really get to ult, are really surprisingly tanky. It's symbolized by those shields there. We get extra shields. Honestly, if there was ever a time where we could use both artifacts, if we could use the Guardian Spell together with the Shieldnova, that would be an absolutely broken combination. But with that, we actually get to a super long fight duration, and in the end, we're probably going to die to some of the enemies, also probably to the Bonnie. That's going to be rather mean after some point. Oh, Chimera. Yeah, well, I forgot about Chimera. Yeah, we don't have the damage, I think, to do anything to them. I just wanted to show you we can really drag out the fight like this. The meta combinations with this are, of course, a stall team with Athalia, and the level 30 effect really brings this artifact to an absolute top tier at this point. So, top tier recommendation definitely by me for PvP. Then we have Stormlash Spell. Tried that one. It makes like this chain lightning effect. In theory, the effect sounds pretty cool. After casting a spell 4 times, this is unrealistic again, it would be every 7 seconds. So it's a 28-second effect, or gaining 1 assist or defeat with it. So if you defeat an enemy 7 seconds after the end of the start of the fight, usually it will be that it is an assist, and then it becomes true damage. Problem is, this thing somehow does no real damage. I don't know. I tried this a few times. It didn't do any damage. I tried it in PvE. It was meaningless there. In PvP, I thought it was like a little bit too tough to really start. And then I thought like, okay, why should I use the time-gated one? And then I can use like Shieldnova and have more damage and more fun. So yeah, this one, in my opinion, bottom tier artifact. And just every time I want to use this, I say, okay, no, stop, let's use Shieldnova instead. And this is then better. And then we have Elderbow. Elderbow, very, very popular in Dream Realm. Fires a powerful arrow targeting 3 tile axes. Okay, deals magic damage. And affecting enemies takes 45% more range damage. So this is like the main point, is really the extra damage, the extra range damage. And then you use popular range damage heroes, something like Chimera, for example. And that really worked out fairly well. And then we have the arrow also immobilizes enemies hit for 3 seconds. And this artifact looks very cool. Because when you use that in a fight, and we can just put it in Dream Realm, we have this big arrow here at the end. You can see Merlin having this big arrow there, charges up, and once this is charged up, and we don't have it on triple speed at the moment, right now this isn't really worth it, a wonderful Chimera skin there, Bladering coming in, and that of course, Bladering isn't really range damage, so, and then he shoots the bow, and this is pretty cool. Him shooting the bow there is an absolutely nice take. So it looks cool, but the level 30 effect, in my opinion, doesn't really add too much to it. Maybe you will find some PvP use, but the thing is you have to deal a whole lot of range damage overall to the enemies, and then you get like a 3-second immobilize, which, if you have the Paragon deficit, probably won't help you too much. So I don't really like that too much. Having an extra CC will really only help you in PvE, PvP, maybe. You have some PvE use if you use it in Dream Realm, in AFK stages, but even then, that's kind of tough. You can use it at extra CC for AFK stages. I think that is a decent enough use. I think that is probably kind of alright. So I probably will give that artifact that a little bit better than I considered at the level of Coreforge, I would say. So not a bad artifact. Looks pretty fancy. Then we have Bladering Spell. Bladering Spell, a melee-focused artifact. Haven't seen too many of those yet. Bladering was really used a lot for Dream Realm again. And not really, for the purpose, I would say. Whenever we accumulate the melee damage, so it's kind of the same here as Elderbow. In that sense, each ally summons rings or blades around himself, and after a short delay, those deal fist damage, which is cool. And they reduce their fist and magic def, and obviously that was the reason in the end. So we again have a debuff here, and that debuff helps us to deal more damage. And the cool thing here is we get some extra healing. And you can go ahead, use the same thing again, and try to combine that with Bladering. It's a little bit more difficult, but we take the extra healing. So went ahead, triple speed is on. You can see we are at 80 seconds. Now with Bladering, really mainly as damage dealer, activated there. And with all the flashy effects that were active at triple speed, we actually missed the point where those blades were active. It seems like such a short time. I think it would have looked cooler a little bit when it was active for a longer time. So should activate again in a second. There are all blades, Bladering activated. We saw them. It's like really such a short duration overall. It's kind of mad. Okay, let's So I don't hate the effect overall. I think some extra healing with melee together, that works fairly well. You have life drain in there, so that is nice. For the purpose that it was used, which was really, okay, reducing phys and magic dev and kind of working together with melee heroes, I don't necessarily think it adds too much to the artifact itself. Like, if you think about the situation about AFK stages, we're mostly now again in a situation where we don't really die anymore. So this would have been cool at the beginning, actually, as one of the earlier unlocks, and instead of one of the later unlocks, probably seen a little bit more use and be more appreciated. So maybe for PvP, if you build like a melee team, you can use it. Other than that, I don't really see too much. I would say it's a level like below Coreforge and everything else. So that's something to say there. Shieldnova, of course, we had already covered. Then we had the Lightcall Spell. The only reason I've really used the Lightcall Spell was that we had Vitality. Vitality helps you heroes to heal, so we used it together with Bladering. And yeah, in general, it is a heal artifact. Heal artifacts, I have to say, haven't seen too much popularity throughout like the entirety of AFK Journey. Was really the same for Lightcall. The only reason was that we have the Vitality buff there, which is not too common, so it's pretty nice. Now we get the Shadow Fae, which kind of takes it away from being healing artifact. If an enemy hero is below 70% HP and has not been possessed by a Shadow Fae, consumes one Shadow Fae to have it possess that enemy for 5 seconds, and by possessing enemy Shadow Fae deals magic damage equal to 20% of team attack per second, plus extra magic damage equal to 15% of possessed enemies lost HP. Cannot exceed 20% of team attack. So overall, not really too bad of a damage, but like on an artifact where you kind of probably would have hoped more for like a little bit more heal. I think I would have appreciated it overall more if it was like something where it says, okay, you get 60 vitality, or it loads up a huge heal, a healing nova or something, and goes more into that healing and gives like huge healing. I think huge healing on an artifact that really heals a lot would have been kind of cool. And we really didn't see that too much yet. All of the healing artifacts always felt like they were kind of holding back. They were not really healing too much. And this again now gets a damaging effect. The damage wasn't too impressive, at least compared to other options. Let's say Shieldnova or buff options that we have, because you have to keep in mind, while this is damaged in the enemy, of course, and it's nice and all, this artifact overall doesn't give you too much damage. It has an attack buff, but like rather than that, not really too much. So I don't think it's really a cool artifact. Got like on the bottom shelf, I would say. Then we have Shadowblast. Shadowblast, weird artifact. Has debuffs. We tried to make this one work. I saw some PvP teams where it was like decent. We have a very interesting HP block in here. And Langeese is a Shadowblast. Well, I'm stupid. I was talking about this one. Malison Spell. Let's start with Malison Spell. I was thinking it was Malison. Okay, at the start of battle, every 10 seconds after I cast one of two curses in alternating order. So this was the one where I thought it was weird. Just caught it before it got really confusing. Targets the frontmost enemy, you're reducing their max HP by 30% for 6 seconds. And in theory, this is cool. First magic dev also get reduced. I thought, okay, maybe even boss fight, both curses on the same enemy, super debuffing one enemy didn't really work out. It also just casts one of the two curses and it's in alternating order, and this is like another weirdness. So what it does at the start of the fight is really reduce the max HP of the frontmost hero by 30%. So you get like a grayed out HP bar on the frontmost enemy. We can show that very quickly here in PvE maybe. Frontmost hero just gets like a part of their HP grayed out. Should be visible. There we saw it for a second. Okay, probably. I kind of get the idea of saying, okay, you can nuke the enemy down. So you just have one enemy that is really weak to being nuked, and it's a frontmost enemy, so all of your heroes will attack it. And it never really worked out for me. Never really worked out. And this curse was always over before you really got to nuke the enemy. 6 seconds are incredibly short time, unless you're working with something like a Pandora Cryonaya nuke. Then you can work with those 6 seconds. Other than that, there's probably not really too much that is really fast enough. Maybe you can throw some the Siren skill with the magic balls on the enemy. But hasn't worked out to me for me too much. It is interesting to know. I don't really know. Then you have like 4 seconds where nothing is, and then we get the Wither Curse. And reduces the attack speed of farthest away enemy hero. Attack speed reduction by 70 is kind of insane, and we had this attack range reduction. I talked in depth about this Malison Spell review, just search for it. You will see it. The effect is For the first 2 casts of spell in each battle, applies both curses simultaneously to their respective targets. So then we get both curses, and this kind of makes this a little bit interesting. This is actually an artifact where I don't like the effect too much, never really worked out for me, but it gets a huge upgrade through the level 30, because for the first 2 casts, for the beginning of the battle, this becomes a whole lot more interesting, because we get all of those effects. And interesting enough, I made a mistake during the review and talked about how both of those could be active at the same time. It wasn't too impressive, it was overall really not too impressive, the artifact, but I think you might make this work. It just really depends on what the enemy is running. If they have like a Bonnie and you reduce the attack speed, could be great. It depends really on the positioning of the enemy. Often there's a front row tank, taking that out fast enough through the sapping curse, a little bit difficult. In the back row there's often a damage dealer, having the debuff there could be good. So I would say it's not quite Coreforge. It's not quite Coreforge. It's 1 level below, is kind of decent still. It's kind of decent with the effect it has. Shadowblast, let's talk about it. Shadowblast was more prominently used because it basically says it will instantly defeat an enemy, and execute effects are great. It's a very easy artifact. Every 7 seconds you basically deal damage to one enemy, stun the affected enemy for 2 seconds, which is great, and if the enemy's HP is below 10%, you instantly defeat them, which is cool because, well, HP below 10%, shield is not calculated with HP, so if you dealt enough true damage to an enemy and the artifact hits it, well, it will get instantly executed. HP below 10%, we have to say though, this is kind of not very high HP. Probably if you got the enemy to 10% HP, you will get it also below 10% HP, and then, I mean, defeated at one point. After casting spell 3 times in a battle, it will target the 2 frontmost enemies. Yeah, this means, well, on the one front enemy 2 seconds into the battle, you have the first one, and then I have 9 seconds and 16 seconds. So at 16 seconds, and after that, you hit 2 heroes, which is pretty good still. I mean, double stun on an artifact. I would say it is kind of a simple artifact, but I would also say if you don't run like the fastest team, if you don't run like a Cryonaya team or something, where you are super fast, maybe you run like a healing team, maybe you run something where you really are a little bit slower overall, well then it could work. But I think it certainly has a tough time getting to 16 seconds in like a PvE, in like a PvP scenario. In PvE, maybe, honestly, being below 10%, there is much more realistic than in PvP, really, because then 10% HP is something. That is kind of a lot, so having an execute effect there could be pretty cool. I would say it's like Coreforge level. Still, maybe a little bit lower. But it's still pretty good. And that is really like all of the artifacts. So let me sum this up for you guys, because it's kind of a long video. Top artifacts in my opinion are the ones that you use in Dream Realm. Every time you look at Yapala, you should say, okay, I want to build this artifact. And probably it will be Dragonroar, because Dragonroar is very often used at the moment. But this is the #1 artifact that you should build. And then you can go for the cool ones. And the cool ones, in my opinion, Coreforge Spell, in general, really good. You get these stat boost there as well. Keep that in mind. Every time we upgrade an artifact, you can see these stats go up, and this is worth something. This is really good. So having the prominent PvP artifacts like Coreforge Spell upgraded will definitely help you and will give you a huge bonus. So Coreforge is really there. A Guardian Spell is a madness in my opinion. We shouldn't underestimate Bloodrage as well, because it's a 50% attack boost, 2 assists. Even though it's a win more artifact, it is still kind of nice. We got the Elderbow and Bladering. Those were good throughout the season. I think, honestly, this is still overlooked. The only thing that holds Shieldnova back is the choice of heroes that grant the shield that we have. We don't have too many, but there are some within the faction skills where we get shields. For example, we have like the huge shield here from the Graveborn skill, and there are, as you saw, Graveborn heroes that work well with shields as well. So despite us not having too many really shield givers there, we have, for example, Callan, or we have Damon. Both of those give shields, so that could be a really cool artifact as well. And for the rest, I think like Vilespring. We forgot Vilespring. I'm an absolute hero here. Hero ult requirement goes down from 5 to 6. I think it didn't change too much in my opinion. Like really, it's only enemy side for 6 seconds anyway. In my opinion, the level 30 effect didn't change the artifact. It's the same level as before, in my opinion. So I didn't really like it got this huge nuke. They kind of held back from designing another artifact that is like Star Shard, where you can go and use heroes like Twins to get like a ton of ults. I really remember the time when Twins was on Pioneer and you could like charge up an ult like every 0.5 seconds, and Starshard Spell would absolutely demolish the enemy. They don't really want to design something like this with it. You activate it, and probably at the time you next want to activate it is still active. So the 5 ult thing didn't really change anything. So that was really overall the video, 25 minutes long. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like down below. And with that, I wish you a great day. Check out our sponsor Loot Bar if you want to buy some packs, especially if you want to use your last chance to buy those festive packs. They have great prices on this. I saved like 40% over the price that I get shown in game, so that was absolutely insane. Use the link down below to save even more, to get some discount coupons. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.